If you close your eyes and listen closely, not to the outside world, but to the deep inner hum of your own being, you might sense something almost imperceptible. Beneath your ribs, curled inside the folds of your body, there's a quiet garden. It does not grow in sunlight. Its flowers are invisible. Its inhabitants are too small for even the sharpest human eye to see. This is the world of your microbiome. It is not made of plants, yet it is lush. It is not made of animals, yet it is alive with movement. It is a bustling, breathing ecosystem, home to trillions of tiny beings, each one carrying out its part in a silent symphony. They are bacteria, fungi, viruses, and archaea, names that, in most conversations, might sound like unwelcome guests. But here, in the sheltered corridors of your gut, many of them are your closest allies. You might think of them as gardeners, tending the soil of your inner world. Some prune, some plant, some break down the debris of the day. Others build invisible scaffolding for your health, creating molecules that help you grow, heal, and feel. They work without wages, without pause, without the need for thanks. You began your life without this garden. Before you were born, your body was mostly your own. Then, at your first breath, at your first cry, and with your first sip of milk, the colonists began to arrive. From your mother, from the air, from the skin of those who held you, they traveled into you. Some of them became permanent residents. Others came and went like passing birds. Over time, this living landscape began to shape itself into something unique, your own unrepeatable inner wilderness. Scientists say there are more microbial cells in and on your body than there are human cells making you. Pause with that thought. In sheer numbers, you are more than you. Yet these two identities, the human and the microbial, are not separate. You are a single, shared existence, a partnership written not in ink, but in DNA and metabolism. This partnership is delicate, yet remarkably resilient. It shifts with the seasons of your life, with the foods you eat, with the places you travel. It responds to stress, to rest, to joy, to illness. In the same way a meadow responds to rain or drought, your inner garden blooms or fades with your daily choices and experiences. Walk through this garden in your mind for a moment. Imagine narrow pathways lined with shapes too strange for the wildest forests of Earth. Some microbes are round and gentle, like tiny pearls. Others are long and winding, twisting like ribbons in the wind. Some build protective fortresses around themselves. Others float freely, drifting in the currents of your digestion. They live in clusters, villages of life, attached to the folds of your gut lining, or carried along in the streams of food and water that flow through you. The soil they tend is not soil at all, but the nutrients from what you eat. Fibers from plants, sugars from fruits, proteins from grains and beans. These are their harvest. From them, they craft compounds that your body cannot make on its own. Some of these feed the cells of your gut wall, keeping its barriers strong. Others travel through your bloodstream, whispering messages to distant organs, including your brain. It might feel strange to think that your mood could begin here, in darkness, in a space where no light reaches. Yet research tells us this is true. Your microbes create chemicals like serotonin and dopamine, the same molecules your brain uses to signal pleasure, calm, or motivation. In fact, a large share of your serotonin is produced in your gut, not your head. The quiet garden is not only a place of digestion, it is a place of feeling. Still, your relationship with these tiny beings is not one-sided. As much as they influence you, you shape their world. A single meal can tip the balance of which microbes thrive. A week of stress can alter their patterns. Long nights without sleep can shift the harmony of their communities. They are sensitive to you, just as you are sensitive to them. Sometimes their world becomes unsettled. An illness, a change in diet, or a period of chronic stress can disrupt the balance. When certain microbes grow too dominant and others fade, the ecosystem struggles. This imbalance, called dysbiosis, can make your digestion uneasy, your immunity weaker, and your mood heavier. Like a garden overrun with weeds, it needs gentle care to restore its natural shape. The care begins with awareness. Simply knowing this world exists inside you changes the way you think about your body. You are not a single creature moving through life. You are a community, a host, a home. Every choice you make sends a ripple into this unseen forest. Some of the most powerful choices are small. Eating a colorful variety of plants. Pausing to breathe before a meal so your body relaxes into digestion. Finding moments of rest so your stress hormones do not drown the balance in your gut. Even laughter, a soft, human joy, can shift the chemistry in ways that nourish your microbes. Think of the relationship as a dance. You lead and they follow, then they lead and you follow. In each step, you shape each other. When you offer nourishment, they return it in ways you cannot see but can feel. In steady energy, in peaceful sleep, in brighter moods. This idea that your inner garden tends your mind can be both humbling and comforting. Humbling because you're not entirely in control. Comforting because you're not entirely alone. You carry inside you a chorus of helpers, life forms that have walked beside humanity for thousands of years. They are your companions in joy and your allies in hardship. If you listen closely, you might sense them not in sound but in sensation. The gentle calm after a nourishing meal, the lightness that comes after a walk in the fresh air, the steady rhythm of digestion when life feels balanced. These are the signs of a garden at peace. As you lie here, imagining the quiet forest inside you, you may begin to wonder, how many of them are there really? What shapes, colors, and patterns fill this invisible world? Who are these neighbors who walk with you from birth until the very last day? The answer is not small. It is vast, in the trillions, and it is there, waiting for you to meet them in the next breath of thought. You carry an entire city inside you, not a city of steel or stone, but one built from life, itself a city, so vast that its population outnumbers every human on earth many times over. It is a metropolis without streets, without borders, yet every corner is alive with movement. In this place, the residents are smaller than dust motes, yet together they make a world that shapes the course of your own. These are your microbial neighbors, the countless bacteria, fungi, archaea, and viruses that live in and on you. They are so numerous that the human cells in your body are outnumbered, and yet you do not feel crowded. They are not intruders, not guests who overstay their welcome. They are part of you, a second self, intertwined with your own biology in ways that scientists are still discovering. Some of them have been with you since your very first moments in the world. If you were born through your mother's birth canal, they arrived as part of that passage, a welcoming gift from her body to yours. If you were born through other means, they came to you in the first skin-to-skin touch, in the milk that nourished you, in the air that filled your newborn lungs. The very first time you were held, you began collecting your earliest residents. Others arrived later, drifting in with the food you ate, the water you drank, the kisses you received, the hands that held yours. They came from the dust of your home, from the fur pets, from the leaves and soil of the outside world. Every contact, every breath, every bite was a new opportunity for connection, a new citizen for community within. Inside your gut, these neighbors do not live scattered and alone. They form neighborhoods, each one suited to its residents' needs. Some prefer the upper reaches of the small intestine, where nutrients are fresh from digestion. Others thrive in the wide, slow rivers of the large intestine, where fibers linger and ferment into nourishment. Some live close to the gut lining, a border town where they interact directly with your immune system. Others float in the open spaces, like travelers between ports. The variety is astonishing. Scientists have cataloged thousands of species, yet there are likely many more still unnamed and unseen. Each species plays its role. Some break down plant fibers, others produce vitamins. Some protect you from dangerous invaders by occupying space and resources that harmful microbes might take. It is as if your gut is a grand orchestra, with each section contributing to harmony. And like any great city, there are rules unwritten but powerful. No single species can dominate for long without upsetting the balance. Diversity is strength. When a community is rich with variety, it is more resilient. able to withstand the shocks of illness, stress, or dietary change. When variety fades, the ecosystem grows fragile and its harmony begins to fray. You may not think of them often, but your microbes are constantly busy. They break down foods you cannot digest on your own, unlocking energy and nutrients you would otherwise lose. They produce short-chain fatty acids that strengthen the walls of your gut, keeping harmful substances out of your bloodstream. They train your immune system to recognize friend from foe. And, as you'll discover, they even send signals to your brain, shaping your thoughts and emotions. But they do not all speak in the same way. Each neighborhood has its own language, its own rhythm. Some communicate with chemical messages, molecules that float through the bloodstream to reach distant organs. Others send signals through the vagus nerve, a direct line between gut and brain. Some work quietly, their influence felt not in a single moment, but in the gentle shaping of your overall well-being. You might imagine the city as a living tapestry, billions of threads weaving in and out, forming patterns that shift over time. Your diet changes, the seasons change, your stress levels rise and fall, and with them, the balance of species shifts. Some disappear entirely, only to return months or years later. Others grow in number after a single meal rich in the foods they love. Even your environment shapes the city. If you spend time outdoors, you bring in microbes from soil, plants, and water. If you live in close contact with animals, their microbial worlds mingle with yours. If you travel to new lands, you encounter species your body has never met before. Every handshake, every shared meal, every breath of air is an exchange, a silent trade between you and the world. This exchange is ancient. Long before humans existed, microbes thrived on Earth, shaping the planet's atmosphere, forming the soil, and filling the oceans with life. By the time our ancestors appeared, microbes had already perfected the art of survival, and in a way, they adopted us as one of their homes. Over millennia, they have co-evolved with us, passing from parent to child, generation after generation. Your gut, in this sense, is like a shared apartment building that has been inhabited for millions of years. Some tenants are old families, their lineage stretching back to prehistoric times. Others are newcomers, recent arrivals adapting to the space. Yet somehow, they all find a way to coexist most of the time for the benefit of the whole. When they thrive, you thrive. When they struggle, you feel the effects. An imbalance in the microbial city can lead to digestive discomfort, lowered immunity, and even shifts in mood and mental clarity. This is why scientists often speak of microbial balance as a cornerstone of health. It is not just about having good bacteria and avoiding bad bacteria. It is about diversity, cooperation, and stability, the marks of a healthy ecosystem. In this way, your relationship with your microbial neighbors is deeply mutual. You feed them, shelter them, give them a stable environment. In return, they transform what you give into something even more valuable: protection, nourishment, and signals that help guide your body's functions. It can be humbling to think that so much of your well-being depends on creatures you cannot see, creatures you did not consciously invite. Yet here they are, working tirelessly on your behalf, asking for nothing more than the right conditions in which to live. Perhaps the most extraordinary thing is how seamlessly this partnership works most of the time. You do not need to instruct them or manage their schedules. They simply do what they've done for millions of years: live, eat, multiply, and die, and in doing so, they keep you alive and balanced. If you were to look at them through a powerful microscope, you might be struck by their beauty. Tiny spirals, perfect spheres, delicate rod shapes evolved for survival, yet as elegant as any work of art. They will be moving constantly, dividing, exchanging genes, forming communities. To watch them is to see life in its most fundamental form, simple, yet infinitely complex in its connections. And as you rest tonight, they will continue their work. They will break down the remnants of your last meal. They will produce molecules to soothe inflammation. They will stand guard against intruders. They will keep the great city within you alive and well. But perhaps the most mysterious part of all is the way they speak to your mind. They have no thoughts, no consciousness in the way you do. Yet somehow, through chemicals and nerves. They influence how you feel, how you respond to the world, and even how you see yourself. And that is where the story turns next to the secret conversation that flows endlessly between your gut and you may think that thoughts begin in your head, that feelings and moods rise solely from your brain's intricate web of neurons. But in truth, a part of your story begins much deeper, much lower in the dark, winding corridors of your gut. Here, far from the conscious mind, a conversation is always happening. It is not spoken in words, nor written in symbols. It is a language of chemicals, impulses, and quiet signals, exchanged between the trillions of microbes in your gut and the vast networks of your nervous system. This is the gut-brain axis, the two-way communication highway, linking the emotional and logical centers of your brain to the living ecosystem inside your belly. The road between them is built from nerves, the most prominent being the vagus nerve, like a general telephone line. It runs from your brainstem down through your chest, weaving between your organs until it reaches your intestines. Along its length, tiny electrical whispers travel in both directions of the gut, sending updates upward, the brain sending instructions downward. You feel this connection in subtle ways. The flutter in your stomach before a difficult conversation, the sudden emptiness in your belly when you receive bad news, the warmth and calm that follows a nourishing meal. These are not coincidences. They are the physical traces of a dialogue older than humanity itself. But the vagus nerve is only part of the story. Much of this conversation is chemical. Your microbes produce an array of substances, neurotransmitters, hormones, and metabolites that can influence brain activity. Serotonin, often called a feel-good chemical, is mostly made in the gut. Dopamine, which shapes motivation and reward, also has roots here. Even gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA, which calms the mind, can be influenced by microbial work. Imagine your gut as a vast orchestra, each microbe playing a tiny instrument. The brain is the audience, listening to the music. Some melodies bring calm, others spark alertness or joy. Sometimes the orchestra is in perfect harmony. Other times, a few instruments play out of tune, creating unease, anxiety, or fatigue. This conversation is continuous. Even while you sleep, when you rest, your brain processes memories, and your gut shifts into a slower, more restorative mode. Signals still flow, guiding digestion, regulating hormones, and adjusting the immune system. In turn, your gut state can influence the quality of your sleep, deep and restful when harmony reigns, restless and shallow when it does not. Food plays a central role in this dialogue. Every meal is a message. A breakfast rich in fiber and colors from plants tells your gut to feed the microbes that create soothing, anti-inflammatory compounds. A diet heavy in processed sugars sends a different signal, one that encourages the growth of microbes that may stoke inflammation and disrupt communication. It is not just what you eat, but how you eat. Eating in a rush, under stress, sends signals of urgency down the vagus nerve. Your gut, sensing the tension, may slow digestion or redirect energy toward dealing with perceived threats. On the other hand, eating slowly in a calm environment allows digestion to unfold smoothly, sending back messages of balance and safety to the brain. Stress, too, shapes this conversation. When you feel anxious or under pressure, your brain releases stress hormones like cortisol. These travel through your bloodstream, affecting gut motility, microbial diversity, and even the permeability of the gut wall. In turn, your gut may respond by producing its own chemical signals, some of which can heighten anxiety or fatigue. It becomes a loop brain influencing gut influencing brain, a cycle that can be soothing or self-perpetuating in difficulty. The immune system also joins the conversation. It patrols the gut constantly, deciding what to tolerate and what to fight. Microbes send cues that help train the immune cells, teaching them to recognize friendly from harmful. If the immune system becomes overactive, inflammation can affect both gut health and brain function. If it is underactive, harmful pathogens may slip through. This constant dialogue is what makes the gut-brain connection so deeply personal. Your moods, your cravings, your patterns of thought, they are not isolated to your brain's chemistry alone. They are shaped by a living, shifting community that responds to your daily life. Think back to times when you felt off without knowing why. Perhaps your digestion was unsettled, your sleep fragmented, your patience thin. In those moments, it may have been your gut signaling distress long before your conscious mind could put it into words. And think, too, of moments when you felt inexplicably at ease. Perhaps you have been eating well, resting deeply, spending time in nature. Your gut's ecosystem may have been in perfect rhythm, sending waves of calm upward to your mind. Scientists call this two-way exchange bidirectional communication. It is more than just a flow of information. It is a partnership. Your brain's thoughts and emotions influence the gut's activity, and your gut state influences the brain's functioning. Neither is truly in charge. Both lead and follow in an endless dance. You can begin to support this relationship in gentle ways. Breathing deeply activates the vagus nerve, sending signals of calm to your gut. Eating diverse, fiber-rich foods nourishes the microbes that produce beneficial neurotransmitters. Taking time for rest and movement keeps both brain and gut in balance. But supporting this conversation is not about rigid control. It is about cultivating conditions for harmony, much like tending a garden. You cannot force a flower to bloom, but you can give it sunlight, water, and soil. Likewise, you cannot command your microbiome, but you can nourish it in ways that let it flourish. Over time, as you become more aware of this quiet exchange, you may notice subtle changes. You may catch the moments when your stomach tightens before your mind understands why. You may feel the lightness after a meal that truly agrees with you. You may begin to sense when your inner orchestra is playing in tune. And in this awareness, a new layer of self-understanding opens. You are not only the voice in your head, you are the whole network of signals between head and belly, between neurons and microbes. Your well-being is not confined to a single organ, but woven into the dialogue between many parts of you. The gut-brain conversation is not loud or dramatic. It is gentle, steady, and endlessly patient. Even when life pulls you off balance, the conversation continues, always ready to return to harmony when given a chance. As you lie here, you can imagine the signals flowing up the vagus nerve like a quiet river, down again like a soft breeze through tall grass. Your microbes hum their messages in chemical notes, and your brain listens, responds, and sends its own replies. Together, they keep you alive, aware, and connected to the rhythms of the world around you. And yet, even this deep connection is only part of the story. For if your brain listens to your gut, what exactly is it hearing? What are these invisible messengers made of? And how can they hold the power to shift your very mood? The answer lies in the chemistry, the subtle, molecular music your microbes compose. You sit quietly, hand resting lightly on your stomach, and you begin to imagine that within you lies a hidden laboratory. The walls are not made of brick or stone, but of living, breathing cells, each pulsing with light. Here, in this dimly glowing space, countless tiny chemists go about their work. They are not human, not even animal. They are molecules and microbes, each following ancient instructions, crafting substances that shape the very way you feel. In this inner workshop, there are no beakers or glass vials, yet the air hums with the quiet clink of molecular bonds forming and breaking. Enzymes fold themselves like careful hands, guiding one chemical into another. Nutrients from your last meal drift in like shipments of raw ingredients, each destined for a particular recipe. And slowly, without you noticing, your gut begins to brew the invisible currents of your emotional weather. The first potion is serotonin, the so-called happiness molecule. Most people think it's made in the brain, but in truth, about 90% of it is created here, deep in the folds of your intestines. These molecules float gently into your bloodstream, hitching rides toward your brain. They don't simply spark joy. They help regulate sleep, digestion, and the calm that allows your thoughts to flow without crashing. Without enough serotonin, your mental sky can cloud over, even on bright days. Next comes dopamine, the bright spark of motivation and reward. It is an anticipation molecule, the thrill you feel when you are about to taste your favorite food or hear a long-awaited voice. While dopamine is often associated with the brain, the gut plays its role. feeding the brain's reward pathways with the raw materials it needs. Without these chemical deliveries, life can feel muted, like a painting without its brightest colors. But the gut doesn't stop there. It brews gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA, the soothing hand that rests gently on a racing heart. GABA tells your body that it's safe to let go, to exhale, to allow the weight in your chest to soften. It is the hush between heartbeats, the moment when you stop bracing for what might go wrong and begin to feel what is right in front of you. These potions are delicate. Their recipes influenced by so many factors. The foods you eat, the balance of your gut's microbial community, the stress you carry, the sleep you allow yourself. Think of your gut as a garden. If the soil is rich and tended, the plants, your feelings, will grow vibrant and resilient. But if the soil is depleted, the garden struggles, and even sunlight feels dim. Your microbiome, the vast community of trillions of microbes, acts like a team of master brewers. Some microbes are expert serotonin producers. Others specialize in breaking down food into fatty acids that calm inflammation, which can otherwise cloud the brain. They live in symbiosis with you, and together, you create the chemical symphony that becomes your mood. You are not just a single being. You are an ecosystem, and your emotional climate depends on the health of its smallest members. Scientists now believe that disruptions in this gut chemistry may contribute to anxiety, depression, and even more complex mental states. It is not the only factor. Life storms can brew from many directions, but the gut's influence is undeniable. This is why a change in diet, a course of antibiotics, or even chronic stress can tilt the balance, altering not just your digestion, but the color of your thoughts. Imagine walking into a room painted in warm, golden light. That is what a healthy gut chemistry feels like, a gentle glow that makes everything around you seem softer, kinder, more possible. Now imagine that light replaced by a cold, flickering bulb. The furniture is the same, the walls haven't moved, but the space feels different. That shift is what happens when your chemical balance changes. The world outside may be unchanged, but the world inside can tint it entirely. You may have noticed how certain foods seem to lift your mood. A piece of dark chocolate can release tiny bursts of dopamine. Fermented foods like yogurt or kimchi can nurture serotonin-producing bacteria. Omega-3 fatty acids from fish help reduce inflammation that could dull your emotional brightness. These aren't magic tricks. They are acts of chemistry, small offerings to the potions being brewed within you. But the gut is sensitive. Stress, for instance, can slam the doors of its workshop shut. Under constant pressure, your gut slows digestion, changes the balance of microbes, and shifts its chemical recipes toward alertness rather than calm. This is useful when danger is real, when you must run, fight, or freeze. But in the long term, it can keep your inner weather locked in a storm. And so, taking care of your feelings means taking care of this laboratory. It means feeding it with whole, varied foods. It means giving it rest, because even the smallest chemists need time to reset their tools. It means moving your body in ways that keep blood flowing gently, carrying messages back and forth along the gut-brain highway. Some cultures have long intuited this connection. Ancient healers spoke of the stomach as the seat of emotion, the center from which health radiated outward. Modern science is beginning to confirm what those traditions sensed, that joy, peace, and clarity may be brewed as much in the gut as in the mind. You might picture your feelings as colors swirling in water. Each molecule of serotonin adds a drop of gold. Each burst of dopamine adds a streak of blue. GABA softens the edges, blending the colors until they shimmer like a quiet sunset. The gut is the unseen artist, mixing the shades that will tint your day. As you rest tonight, your tiny chemists will keep working. They do not sleep when you do. They will use the nutrients you've given them to prepare tomorrow's emotional palate. The conversations between your gut and brain will continue in the dark, weaving threads of chemistry into the fabric of your dreams. And perhaps when you wake, you will notice that the air feels just a little warmer, the light a little softer, not because the world has changed, but because the laboratory inside you has painted your morning with new colors. Still, there is more to the story. Chemistry alone does not explain the full shape of feeling. There are other signals, electric whispers and hormonal tides that travel between your gut and brain. They tell not just how you feel, but who you believe yourself to be. And somewhere beyond the molecules lies the next part of our journey. You picture your gut as a lush and ordered garden, filled with soft hums and quiet exchanges. For so long, the system has tended itself, each microbe knowing its place, each root drawing what it needs without taking too much. But in every garden, there comes a season when something shifts. Sometimes it begins subtly. Perhaps you change your diet, not out of neglect, but convenience. The rich variety of fibers and colors you once offered dwindles, replaced by the same few foods over and over. To you, it is just another week of busy living. To your microbiome, it is a sudden drought or a flood or the appearance of a new, invasive plant. Other times, the imbalance arrives sharply like a storm. An illness sweeps through, and with it, antibiotics, powerful tools that save your life, yet sweep away vast fields of microbial life. In their absence, opportunists move in. The general balance is tipped. Weeds take root where flowers once bloomed. And then there is stress, the invisible gardener who decides which plants thrive and which wither. When your mind carries too much strain, when your body stays in a quiet state of tension for too long, the chemical climate changes. Cortisol, the stress hormone, lingers like an unexpected frost, chilling the soil. Some microbes struggle. Others flourish in this altered world, but the diversity shrinks. The pathways that once carried nutrients and chemical signals like soft rivers now run sluggish or clogged. You may not notice the imbalance at first. Perhaps it appears only as a faint weariness, or a change in appetite, or restless sleep. But inside, messages are being rewritten. Serotonin production shifts. The gut, once a smooth communicator with your brain, begins sending altered signals, more urgent, more troubled. The brain, in turn, responds to its own changes. Mood becomes less steady, concentration less sharp. Like a house where the pipes knock and the lights flicker, the whole system feels subtly off. Science has given a name to this invisible tipping point, dysbiosis. It is not a single disease, but a pattern, the disruption of the ancient pact between your microbes and you. When the harmony of species is lost, the effects ripple outward. Your immune system, always listening to the gut's whispers, grows more reactive. Inflammation rises quietly, like embers glowing under ash. The gut wall, once a strong yet selective barrier, may grow leaky, letting small fragments into the bloodstream. The immune system, seeing these intruders, grows more vigilant, but also more restless. This is where science and feeling meet, because inflammation in the body can mean fog in the mind. The same molecules that rush to heal a cut or fight a virus can also cross into the brain and subtly shift its chemistry. In this way, the gut's imbalance can feel like a low cloud settling over thought itself. Imagine walking into your favorite room and finding the windows slightly darkened. The furniture is still there. The air is still warm, but the light feels different, muted, uneasy. That is what dysbiosis can do to mood and clarity. The room of your mind still stands, but its sunlight changes. Yet gardens, even the most tangled ones, are rarely lost forever. Nature is astonishingly forgiving when given the right care. In the soil of your gut, even after a storm, some seeds remain dormant, waiting. Some roots, though weakened, still cling to the earth, ready to grow again. Healing begins with small, deliberate offerings. Fiber-rich foods that act like mulch, feeding the beneficial bacteria and shading out the weeds. Fermented foods, carrying living cultures that settle into empty niches. A greater variety of plants, each with its own colors, chemicals, and gifts to invite diversity back. This is not an overnight repair. It is a slow return of seasons. Every meal becomes a gentle nudge toward renewal. Rest also matters. When you sleep deeply, your body enters a repair mode, tending to both its own tissues and the microbial garden within. When you breathe slowly, when you step into quiet spaces, your stress hormones fall and the climb of the gut shifts toward growth again. Even small joys, laughter, sunlight, the smell of earth after rain, ripple into the body, altering chemistry in ways the microbiome can sense. Science shows that the gut-brain axis is a two-way street. When the gut heals, the mind often follows. And when the mind finds calm, the gut begins to steady itself. It is a cycle once broken, but capable of being made whole again. Still, balance is not about perfection. A wildflower here, a stray vine there, they are part of any real garden. The microbiome is not a fragile glass sculpture, but a living forest meant to shift and respond. It needs variety, challenge, even occasional storms to grow strong. What matters is that no single voice drowns out the chorus, that the soil remains rich enough for all to find their place. You realize in a quiet moment that this is not just biology. It is a story about relationships between species, between systems, between you and the life that shares your body. And relationships, like gardens, are built not in a day but over time, with patience and care. There may still be days when balance slips, when stress rises, when illness passes through, when food choices lean toward quick comfort rather than deep nourishment. But the memory of balance remains, both in your body and your microbes. Given the right signals, they will lean toward it again, just as plants turn toward light. In this way, healing is less about force and more about invitation. You offer the condition for life to flourish, and then you step back, letting the invisible work unfold. This is not control. This is partnership. And in the quiet partnership between you and your microbiome, every act of care, a nourishing meal, a slow breath, a moment of rest, becomes a small act of repair. And perhaps the most comforting truth is this: even when the balance feels broken, you are never starting from nothing. The seeds are already there. The connections, though frayed, can be rewoven. The light can return to the room. You feel it, the possibility of calm taking root again. A sense that the storms, however strong, are only part of a larger cycle. And as you imagine the garden within you, you notice the faint stirrings of green, small shoots breaking through soil, almost imperceptible, yet certain. Because balance, once known, is always finding its way back. And in that slow return, a question begins to form. If the gut and brain can heal each other, what other hidden pathways in your body might carry whispers of change? You sit at your table, a plate before you. To someone passing by, it might seem ordinary, perhaps some fruit, a piece of bread, a cup of tea. But to your inner world, this is more than just food. It is a conversation, a whisper in a language older than words. Inside you, trillions of tiny lives wait to hear what you will say. They are not human, and yet they are part of you. They listen in the only way they can, by sensing what arrives to the long, winding corridors of your gut. Every bite, every sip carries signals, instructions, and gentle nudges. Some messages tell them to grow and thrive, to work together, to build harmony. Others, less kind, tell them to fight, to scatter, to prepare for trouble. The language of food is not written in letters or ink. It is written in fiber and starch, in proteins and oils, in vitamins and minerals. It is written in the colors of berries, the tang of fermented cabbage, the deep green of leafy vegetables. A plate full of plants, full of variety, speaks to your microbes like a choir of voices, each singing a different note, but together forming a song of health. When you eat a crisp apple, the sweetness is not just for you. The fibers that you cannot digest travel deeper into the lower reaches of your gut, where certain bacteria wait. They take those fibers and break them down into compounds that feed the lining of your intestines, keep inflammation low, and signal your brain that all is well. A carrot, with its bright orange glow, brings beta-carotene, a gift to your eyes and skin, but also carries plant fibers that nourish communities of microbes who help regulate your immune system. Then there are the ferments: yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut. These are not just foods, but living ecosystems in themselves. They arrive like travelers carrying news from distant lands. Some of their living cells may join your gut's population. Others may simply pass through, but not before leaving behind compounds that calm the immune system or encourage friendly species to grow. Each spoonful of yogurt is like a letter addressed directly to your inner garden, telling it to flourish. But not all whispers are kind. Highly processed foods, stripped of fiber, loaded with sugars, oils, and additives, speak in a sharp, disruptive tone. They tell your microbes that fast-burning energy is plentiful, and so the balance shifts. Species that feed on sugar bloom too quickly. Those that prefer slow, fibrous meals begin to fade. Over time, the diversity of your inner ecosystem shrinks, like a forest losing its trees. With fewer voices in the choir, the song becomes thin and dissonant. Still, the gut is resilient. Like a meadow trampled by careless footsteps, it can recover when given care. Shifting your diet, even a little, can begin to send new, gentler messages. More whole plants, more colors, more slow-digesting fibers. With each meal, you can invite balance back. Think of your meals as letters. Every time you sit to eat, you hold the pen. Will you write a story of nourishment or of unrest? Will your message be rushed and careless, or deliberate and kind? You do not need perfection. The gut listens over weeks, months, and years. One unhealthy meal does not destroy harmony, just as one kind word cannot heal a relationship. But a steady stream of kindness transforms everything. Consider the colors of your food. Bright reds from tomatoes and strawberries bring antioxidants that shield cells from damage. Deep blues and purples from blueberries and black rice contain compounds that travel far into your gut, feeding rare but powerful microbes linked to better brain health. Green vegetables like spinach and kale carry magnesium and folate, minerals and vitamins that quietly keep your nerves steady and your energy smooth. A plate without color is like a conversation without emotion, flat, one note, soon forgotten. And there are the invisible whispers, the smells and tastes you may not consciously notice, but your microbes do. The sulfur compounds in garlic and onions act like subtle fertilizers for certain bacteria that help regulate blood sugar. Spices like turmeric and cinnamon carry anti-inflammatory compounds, sending signals that calm irritation in the gut lining. Even bitter greens, which you may eat reluctantly, contain plant chemicals that microbes transform into molecules with protective effects throughout your body. The relationship is not one-sided. Your microbes respond to messages you send, and in return, they write messages back. Some of their signals travel through nerves that connect directly to your brain. Others float through your blood, influencing your mood, your immune system, even your sleep. When your diet supports a diverse, balanced microbial community, their messages are steady and reassuring. When the balance is lost, the signals can become erratic, creating low-grade inflammation that clouds thought and dampens joy. Eating slowly is another form of communication. When you chew well and savor each bite, your body prepares the gut to receive food calmly, releasing digestive enzymes at the right pace. The microbes, too, benefit from the steady rhythm. Sudden floods of food can favor fast-growing species, while slower, more measured digestion favors a balanced community. You might think of it as speaking clearly instead of rushing your words. Water is also part of the dialogue. It carries nutrients along the digestive tract, helps fibers swell and move, and supports the mucus lining that protects your gut wall. Without enough water, the messages of fiber can be garbled. With it, they arrive intact and easily understood. And yet, there is no single perfect diet for all people. The language your microbes understand best depends on your history, your environment, and even the landscape of your ancestors. Some thrive on more grains, others on more vegetables, still others on fermented dairy or fish. The art is in listening, noticing how your body and mind respond not just hours after meal, but days later. This is how you learn to write letters your own gut will love to read. Food is memory as well. The smells and flavors of your childhood may shape which microbes take root early in life. If your grandmother made lentil soup, you may carry not only the memory of her kitchen, but also the microbes that learn to feast on those lentils. Changing your diet can introduce new species, but the old ones linger, waiting for a familiar meal to wake them. And so, each bite is both a present moment and a thread to the past. It is also a bridge to the future. The meals you eat today will shape the microbial stories you carry tomorrow. A gut well-fed with variety and kindness can help you think more clearly, feel more at ease, and resist illness with quiet strength. The table is still before you. Perhaps you look down now and see more than food. You see messages waiting to be sent, alliances waiting to be strengthened. You see that eating is not merely about filling hunger, but about tending a garden that, in turn, tends to you. The next time you choose your meal, you might imagine leaning down and whispering to your microbes. You might picture them listening, waiting for your next word. You might remember that the language of food is gentle, but its effects are profound. A single letter will not change the whole conversation, but each one is a chance to shift the tone toward harmony. And perhaps, as you think about this, you begin to wonder if food can whisper so powerfully to your inner world. What else in your life speaks quietly, shaping you without you even noticing? Stress is not only something you feel in your mind, it is a wave that travels through your whole body. You know this, perhaps, from moments when your heart races after bad news or when your stomach feels tight before a difficult conversation. The storm begins in your thoughts, but the wind and rain sweep down into your chest, your belly, your skin. Your gut listens closely to these storms. Inside, your digestive tract is lined with nerves, more than in your spinal cord, and these nerves are always listening. They pick up on your mood, your tension, the quickening of your breath. This is why scientists call the gut the second brain. It is not thinking in words, but in sensations, chemicals, and quiet electrical signals. When stress arrives, the brain sends urgent messages to your gut. Hormones like cortisol surge through your bloodstream. The muscles in your stomach and intestines either tense or slow down. Digestion changes speed, sometimes rushing too fast, sometimes pausing as if the body has decided that now is not the time for rest. Your microbes, the tiny bacteria, viruses, and fungi living inside you, feel the shift too. They sense when blood flow changes, when stomach acid rises, when immune cells begin to stand guard. Some thrive in calm waters, others awaken in chaos. When the storms last too long, the harmony of the gut's ecosystem can shift. The voices of the helpful microbes grow quieter, and those that feed on inflammation may become louder. You have felt this before, perhaps as an upset stomach during a stressful week, or a sudden change in your appetite when life feels heavy. It is not your imagination. Your gut is truly part of the experience. Think of your gut as a harbor filled with delicate boats. On calm days, the water is smooth, the boats rest gently, tied to their docks. On stormy days, waves crash against them, ropes strain, and some boats drift from their places. Stress is like wind and thunder on this harbor. It does not destroy it all at once, but it changes how everything moves. There's an ancient wisdom here, one your body has carried for millions of years. In the wild, stress often meant danger, a predator, a shortage of food, a sudden change in weather. In such moments, digestion could wait. The body would divert its energy to muscles for running, to eyes and ears for sensing, to the heart for pumping blood. Your ancestors survived because their bodies could shift instantly into this mode. But in the modern world, the predators are often deadlines, financial worries, arguments, and the slow drip of daily pressures. Your body reacts as though you still need to run or fight, even when the danger is abstract. And so the gut endures storm after storm without the quiet days of repair it needs. Some storms pass quickly, a nervous moment before speech, a tense phone call. Others linger, becoming seasons rather than days. When stress is constant, the gut's environment changes in deeper ways. The walls of the intestines can become more permeable, letting tiny fragments slip into the bloodstream that would normally stay inside. The immune system, always watchful, begins to react more often. Inflammation rises, and the microbes that prefer such conditions find more room to grow. The connection flows both ways. Just as stress changes the gut can send signals back to the brain, amplifying or softening your mood. Some microbes produce compounds that calm the nervous system. Others produce ones that heighten alertness. When stress shifts the balance of these microbes, the messages your brain receives change, too. It can become a loop, stress disturbing the gut, and the gut quietly feeding the stress back to the mind. But storms, even long ones, can pass. And your body, remarkably, remembers how to return to calm. The same nerves that tense under stress can relax under safety. The same gut muscles that twist in unease can soften when your breath slows and your body feels safe again. Breathing is one way you can whisper to your gut that the storm is ending. When you breathe deeply and slowly, you activate the vagus nerve, a long, wandering nerve that connects your brain to your digestive tract. This nerve tells the gut, it's safe now, you can rest, you can digest. Even a few minutes of slow breathing can shift the body's chemistry toward calm. Food itself can also be a message of safety. Warm, nourishing meals signal abundance, telling the body there is no need to conserve energy for survival. Fermented foods, rich in friendly microbes, help restore balance in the gut. Fibers from fruits, vegetables, and grains feed the helpful bacteria, giving them the strength to rebuild. Even the act of eating slowly, savoring each bite, can become a small ritual of peace. Nature offers her own medicine for inner storms. A walk among trees, the sound of flowing water, the warmth of sunlight. These experiences lower stress hormones, not just in the mind, but in the gut. They bring the harbor back to stillness. Your microbes, your nerves, your muscles all feel the change. And so you begin to see stress not only as something in the mind, but as weather in the whole body. It is a system of clouds and winds that passes over every cell, touching the quiet towns of bacteria that live within you. It is not an enemy, but a messenger, reminding you to listen, to shelter, to wait for the clear skies that will come. There will always be storms, some short, some long. What matters is how you guide your vessel through them. You can drop anchor with breath, with food that nourishes, with rest that restores. You can remember that your gut is not a distant place, but a companion that feels the world alongside you. When you soothe it, you soothe yourself. And when you listen to it, you may find that it has been whispering all along. Not only the storms, but the clear and gentle mornings that follow. The wind is never gone forever, but neither is the calm. And somewhere, just beyond the edge of this moment, the light of the next dawn is waiting to touch the waters within you. Night has a different kind of silence. It is not the absence of sound, but the settling of everything into a slower rhythm. Your breath deepens. Your muscles loosen. Your mind begins to drift between here and somewhere else. You close your eyes, but inside you, life continues. In the folds of your gut, billions of tiny beings keep moving. They do not sleep the way you do. Instead, they follow their own quiet cycles, responding to the ebb and flow of your body's chemistry. Some grow more active after sunset. Others slow their work, storing energy for the day to come. Scientists call this internal timing the circadian rhythm, your body's master clock. It is written not only in your brain, but in nearly every cell and echoed in the patterns of your microbiome. As darkness settles, your gut microbes shift in number and type, like the changing characters in a slow midnight play. These changes are not random. They help prepare your body for repair, restoration, and the gentle surrender to sleep. You may think sleep belongs entirely to the mind, that dreams are born only from neurons firing in secret patterns. But your microbiome has a voice here too, whispering through chemical messengers that travel from gut to brain. Certain bacteria help your body produce serotonin, the mood-balancing molecule that also guides the creation of melatonin, the hormone that tells you it's time to rest. Without enough harmony in your gut, this chain can weaken, leaving your nights restless and your mornings heavy. Imagine your gut as a quiet harbor. When the waters are calm, your brain ships drift easily into the soft seas of sleep. When the waves are choppy, the ships rock and resist, and rest comes fitfully, if at all. Your microbes are the unseen weathermakers of that harbor, keeping the tides smooth or stirring them with unseen storms. Dreams, too, may feel their touch. When your gut is inflamed or your microbiome unbalanced, your sleep can fragment, waking you from the deep stages where the most vivid dreams take shape. When balance returns, your nights lengthen and deepen, and your dreams may weave themselves into softer, more coherent stories. It is as if your inner ecosystem plays a quiet lullaby to your brain, one that shapes not only how long you sleep, but how peacefully you wander through the night. But the relationship runs both ways. When your nights are short or your rest is broken, your microbiome changes. Beneficial species may dwindle, and less helpful microbes can gain ground, altering the very chemistry of your body. This can lead to inflammation, sluggish digestion, and changes in mood, making the next night's sleep even harder to find. It is a circle, sometimes gentle, sometimes vicious. You can imagine this connection as two dancers moving in perfect time. If one stumbles, the other feels it instantly. When your sleep falters, your microbes lose their rhythm. When your microbes struggle, your sleep feels their strain. To restore the dance, both must find a beat again. Some of this beat comes from light. Morning sunlight enters your eyes and signals your brain's clock to reset. This light, in turn, influences the timing of digestion and the microbial cycles in your gut. Just as plants open and close their leaves with the sun, your microbes sense the day's arrival and shift into their daylight roles, helping you metabolize breakfast, fueling your energy and supporting focus. And then, as evening returns, darkness falls, and your body prepares to let go. Your microbes adapt again. They adjust the way they process food, the signals they send to your brain, and even the way they interact with your immune system. These nightly changes help reduce inflammation and allow your body to repair small damages, the microscopic mending that keeps you whole. Perhaps you have felt the difference after a night of true, unbroken rest. Your mood is lighter. Your thoughts move more easily. The world feels a little softer at its edges. This is not just a work of the brain alone. It is combined labor of the hidden community inside you, working quietly through the night to clear away what is heavy and prepare you for the day ahead. There are ways you can help them. Eating your last meal a few hours before bed gives your microbes time to finish their tasks without overwork. A diet rich in fiber and varied plants gives them the raw materials they need to create sleep-supporting compounds. Limiting late caffeine and heavy sugars keeps their rhythm steady, so they are not tricked into thinking the night is day. And perhaps most importantly, keeping your own bedtime and wake time consistent helps align your clock with theirs. The science is still young, but researchers are beginning to see that this link between gut and sleep may explain much about chronic insomnia, depression, and fatigue. In the near future, it might be possible to treat certain sleep disorders not just with therapy or medication, but with targeted changes to the microbiome, a kind of inner gardening for deeper dreams. But even without tomorrow's discoveries, you can feel the truth of this connection in your own body. Remember a night when you drifted into sleep easily, dreams unfolding without interruption. Remember the way you woke, not abruptly, but gently, as if surfacing from a calm lake into morning light. That is a feeling of a body in rhythm, the harmony of your mind's rest, and your microbes work moving together as one. And so, as you lie down tonight, know that you are not alone in the quiet. Your breath slows, your muscles soften, but inside, the work continues. Tiny hands mending, tiny voices whispering, tiny tides shifting in tune with your heart. They do not dream as you do, yet they help shape the dreams you have. In your stillness, they move. In their movement, you find your stillness. The clock turns, the night deepens, and you and your microbiome drift together into a space beyond time, a place where cells repair, memories settle, and the unseen prepares you for another dawn. Morning will come, as it always does. Light will find your closed eyelids. Your brain will stir, your gut will wake, and the rhythm will begin again, a cycle as old as life itself. And somewhere between the last trace of dream and the first breath of day, you may feel it. The gentle hand of your inner companions, guiding you toward balance. They have been with you all night, steady in their quiet labor, ready to greet the light with you. And tomorrow, when you rise, they will rise too, shaping your thoughts, your energy, and perhaps even the questions that will lead you into the next chapter of this inner journey. For there is another rhythm they keep, another cycle that does not end when the day begins, one that is tied not only to your sleep, but to your very sense of time itself. You stand at the edge of a quiet garden. The soil before you has known storms, seasons of drought, and times when weeds grew unchecked. Yet the earth is still alive beneath the surface. You can feel it, a subtle hum, a quiet readiness. The inner garden of your gut is much the same. It may have faced imbalance, illness, stress, or neglect, but life remains. The microscopic tenders, the bacteria, fungi, and other microbes, are waiting for the right signals to begin their work of renewal. Healing, you learn, is not an act of force. It is an act of invitation. You do not order the microbes to grow. You create the conditions that make growth possible. Like sunlight streaming over frost-hardened soil, your daily choices thaw and awaken them. Every nourishing bite, every deep breath, every gentle night's sleep is a seed dropped into the earth of your inner world. The first step in this restoration is feeding the soil. Microbes thrive on what you eat, not in the way you might think, but in the language of fiber, polyphenol, and resistant starch. Imagine fiber as fallen leaves on a forest floor, not food for you directly, but a feast of the organisms that turn decay into fertility. Whole grains, fruits, vegetables, legumes, these are compost for your inner garden. Polyphenol, found in berries, tea, dark chocolate, and colorful plants, are like fragrant blossoms that draw in helpful pollinators. The more variety you give, the richer the ecosystem becomes. You begin to see your meals as landscapes. A plate of fresh greens becomes a meadow swaying in the wind. A bowl of lentils is a bed of warm, dark earth. A scattering of blueberries is a cluster of tiny suns, each holding the promise of life. When you eat with this awareness, you're no longer simply consuming, you are planting. But soil alone is not enough. The garden also needs rest from harm. Antibiotics, though sometimes essential, can be like wildfires, clearing vast stretches of microbial life in days. Highly processed foods can starve the soil of diversity, letting weeds of imbalance grow unchecked. Even chronic stress sends drought to the pathways of your inner landscape, slowing repair and limiting renewal. Part of healing is learning to shield the garden when storms pass overhead. Stress, you notice, is not just an emotion. It is a messenger carried through hormones and nervous signals to your gut. When stress lingers, your microbes shift, favoring species that prepare the body for fight or flight, not for digestion and restoration. It is as if the garden hunkers down under a dark sky, conserving energy instead of blooming. Here, breath becomes your watering can. Slow inhales and longer exhales tell your nervous system the storm has passed. With every breath, you soften the soil, letting nutrients and life seep deeper. Sleep, too, is part of the healing season. In the quiet hours, your body directs energy away from movement and toward repair. Microbes use this time to grow, exchange signals, and strengthen the lining of your gut, the fence that keeps the garden contained and safe. Without enough rest, the fence weakens, cracks appear, and the balance tips. By honoring the rhythm of night, you give the garden the pause it needs to recover. And then there is movement, not frantic, exhausting movement, but the gentle stirring that wakes the soil. Walking after a meal, stretching in the morning sun, cycling at a comfortable pace. These send ripples of energy through your digestive tract. Blood flows more easily, oxygen reaches deeper, and microbial diversity often flourishes. It is a difference between a still, stagnant pond and a lively, babbling stream. As days turn to weeks, you notice the language of your inner garden changing. Perhaps your digestion feels smoother, your energy steadier, your mood lighter. These are not coincidences. Microbes are in constant conversation with your brain, producing neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine and shaping how you feel from the inside out. A balanced gut can become a more peaceful mind, just as a balanced garden is a more harmonious place to walk. Sometimes the change is invisible. It happens in the DNA exchanges between microbes, in the subtle shifts of pH in the gut, in the building of stronger connections between cells. It happens in the quiet, in the way winter slowly yields to spring. You may not see it in the mirror, but you feel it in the way you greet the day. Healing also asks for patience. Just as a field takes time to recover from overuse, the gut needs weeks or months to rebuild diversity and resilience. There is no instant seed that will restore everything. But each meal, each deep breath, each night of rest is a small act of trust, a promise to the life within you that you are here to tend and not to rush. You might imagine sending gratitude to your microbes. It sounds strange, but gratitude is a language they understand indirectly. It changes your relationship with your body. You stop seeing it as something broken to be fixed and start seeing it as a living system to be cared for. And care changes everything. There will still be days when imbalance returns, a sudden illness, a stressful week, an unavoidable course of medication. But now you know that damage is not the end. A garden that has been restored once can be restored again. Resilience grows each time you bring it back to health. Some people find healing through fermented foods, yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, miso, each carrying living cultures like packets of wildflower seeds. Others find balance through prebiotic-rich foods that feed the good bacteria already present. Still others use both, like a gardener who both plants and nourishes. What matters most is consistency, not perfection. Even a neglected garden can thrive when small acts of care are repeated over time. You learn to listen for signals, the way your digestion shifts after certain meals, the way your mood changes after rest, the way your energy responds to stress. These signals are messages from the soil itself, telling you what it needs. You become fluent in the language of your inner garden, not by reading charts or rules, but by feeling. And in this slow listening, something else happens. You begin to realize that the garden is not just a reflection of your health. It is also a teacher. It shows you that life is built from relationships, from tiny unseen partnerships that ripple outward. It teaches you that balance is not a fixed state, but a living dance. And it shows you that healing is not about return to what was, but about growing into what can be. The more you care for your garden, the more it cares for you, not just in digestion, but in immunity, in mental clarity, in emotional steadiness. It is a partnership, quiet, ancient, and profound. And so you continue. You plant, you water, you rest, you protect. You make peace with the idea that healing is a path without a finish line. It is a way of walking through life, side by side with the trillions who call you home. Some nights, before sleep, you imagine walking through your inner garden. You see the soil rich and dark, the air alive with tiny movements, the plants swaying gently under a kind sky. And you know that while you rest, the work of renewal continues, silent, steady, and full of promise. The seasons turn, the garden breathes, and somewhere just beyond the edge of your awareness, a new question is beginning to take root. One that will lead you to wonder not only how your garden heals, but how it connects to all the other gardens of the world. You sit quietly, feeling your breath pass in and out, steady as the tide. You imagine your body as a quiet house, and you think of yourself as its only resident. But this is not the truth. You are not alone here. You never have been. You are a city, vast, alive, and bustling. Your skin, your lungs, your mouth, your gut, all are home to trillions of tiny beings who have made you their world. They're your microbiome, a collection of bacteria, viruses, fungi, and archaea, each no larger than a speck of dust, yet together outweighing your brain. They live on you, in you, and with you. Some stay for a lifetime, passed from your mother when you were born. Others are visitors, arriving on the breeze, in a sip of water on the surface of a shared apple. You are not their ruler, nor are you their prisoner. You are a partner in an ancient dance. These microbes do not just linger quietly in the shadows. They work, constantly, tirelessly, in your gut. They help break down food you could never digest alone, releasing nutrients that keep your cells alive. On your skin, they form invisible shields against invading pathogens. In your mouth, they maintain balance, keeping harmful species from gaining control. And deep in ways you cannot see, they whisper to your immune system, teaching it to recognize friend from foe. Some of these whispers reach even further. They travel through chemical messengers, winding along your nerves, sending signals to your brain. Here is where science and poetry intertwine. Your microbes and their silent, unseen labor can shape the way you feel. Certain species can encourage the production of serotonin, a chemical often called the happiness molecule. Others influence how your body reacts to stress, deciding whether a challenge feels like a mountain or a gentle hill. It is strange, isn't it? The idea that your sense of calm, your laughter, even your dreams, may in part be co-authored by being so small they vanish in a drop of water. But this is not weakness. This is connection. You are a symphony, not a solo. Imagine, for a moment, walking through an ancient forest. The trees rise around you like pillars in a cathedral. Beneath the soil, an unseen network of fungal threads connects one root to another, allowing the forest to share nutrients, to warn of pests, to sustain the weak. This network is invisible to your eyes, but without it, the forest could not thrive. Your microbiome is that hidden network. You do not see it, yet it sustains the whole ecosystem of you. These companions have traveled with humanity since the very beginning. Long before you had language or tools, they lived in and on your ancestors, shaping digestion, immunity, and even survival itself. Over countless generations, your species and theirs learned to live not just side by side, but intertwined, a shared history written in microscopic ink. Yet, like any delicate ecosystem, this partnership can be disrupted. Diet stripped of fiber, stress that lingers too long, overuse of certain medicines, all can reduce the diversity of your microbial world. When diversity fades, balance tilts. Harmful microbes, once kept in check, may flourish. Inflammation can rise, digestion can falter, and even mood can dim. Healing this inner world is not about force. It is about listening. It is about creating the conditions for your microbial self to flourish again. Whole, plant-rich foods feed the bacteria that support your well-being. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, kimchi, and sauerkraut invite helpful species into your community. Gentle movement, restful sleep, time in nature, all send signals of safety, allowing both you and your microbes to settle into harmony. You might think of it as tending a garden. You cannot order seeds to grow, but you can give them sunlight, water, and fertile soil. In the same way, you cannot dictate every microbe's behavior, but you can shape the environment in which they live. In a healthy environment, the good tend to outcompete the harmful. The weeds are kept from overrunning the flowers. And perhaps most beautiful of all, your microbial self is unique. No other person, not even your closest relative, has a microbiome exactly like yours. It is shaped by the food you eat, the air you breathe, the places you've walked, the animals you've touched, the hands you've held. Your microbes carry memories of your environment in a language only nature speaks. Even your relationships are part of the story. When you share a home, you exchange microbes with others, subtly blending your inner worlds. Families develop their own microbial fingerprints, as if the house itself were a living organism. You are quite literally shaped by the company you keep. Sometimes when you feel disconnected from the wider world, it can help to remember that you are never truly alone. Within you, there is a ceaseless hum of life. It is a reminder that cooperation is not just a human ideal. It is a law of biology. Life survives best when it is shared. And as you sit here, listening to your breath, you might imagine your microbes as tiny gardeners, each tending their own patch, each contributing to the harmony of the whole. Their work is quiet but profound. They are not separate from you. They are a part of you, as much a part as your heart, your bones, your mind. You are a walking habitat, a breathing ecosystem, a living collaboration between human and microbe. To care for yourself is to care for them. To nourish them is to nourish you. And so, in this understanding, a question begins to rise, soft and patient. If you are not just you, but also them,